Hi, this is Nancy Darling. I'm Editor-in-Chief of the Journal of Adolescence, and this is part of our series on how to turn your great research into a nice publishable article. So today we're going to talk about abstracts. An abstract, as you know, is a up to 250-word summary of your article. It is a great teaser. It's the first thing an editor reads after your title to decide whether or not this is in the ballpark of what the journal publishes at all, and to get a sense of whether or not it is of a quality that is worth sending out for review. When I send it out to review, the first thing reviewers do is they read your abstract. They say, is this in my field? And does it look like it's worth my time to review this paper? When a potential reader looks it up in Web of Science, it's what helps them determine whether or not they're actually going to download your article. So you need to be very careful about what that information is. You need to tell them why you did this article. In other words, how is this paper moving the field forward? What's novel about it? You need to say how you did it. Is it qualitative or a quantitative piece? What specific methodology did you use? In other words, is it longitudinal? Is it cross-sectional? Is it self-report? If it's qualitative, how did you code it? How did those themes emerge? You need to talk about who was in that article, who was in that population that you're studying. So what country, for Journal of Adolescence, every abstract needs to include the country. What country the data was collected in. If it's old data, what era was that data collected in? You need to talk about how you were recruited. Is it a snowball sample? Is it a convenience sample? In other words, what's the quality of the sample so I can determine whether or not it is, how generalizable your findings are. You need to talk about your demographics. Age. We are a developmental journal. You better tell us how old these kids are. It's really important. Their gender, their ethnicity, if it's relevant in your context, the social class. Obviously, you're going to lay out the findings. What's the most interesting thing that came out of this? What answers your question? First sentence tells me what you're going to do and why it's important. The findings tell me what you actually learned from this study. That's what I want to know when I decide whether or not to read it. You need to have a clear takeaway message, and you might have a teaser. In other words, here's what our empirical findings were, this is why they're important, and this is what we're going to talk about conceptually that makes the paper really worth your reading. Good, strong abstract makes a paper.